Yeah, and always try to keep it timely.
All right, so are we ready to move on to politics? Okay. Well, we're gonna shift a little bit to South Carolina politics. Now, while that's not in our backyard, I just want to make everyone know that one of the things that we want to do here is to educate and take from this is the growing sentiment and the voice on the ground of how people feel. Because if the mainstream press or media doesn't like the angle, they're not going to report it. And that's not how we roll at the Global Dispatch. We'll tell you both sides. So with that, we're going to be welcoming Bruce Carroll. You with us, Bruce?
Yes, I am. Good morning.
Well, good morning. Welcome to Dispatch Radio. I'm going to turn it over to Bob. He's got a whole series of questions, kind of get at this whole Lindsey Graham anti-campaign. I don't really call that exactly, but you know what I'm trying to get at, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Bill, can you go ahead and run that video real quick?
Oh, we got your little clip coming up here,
that
Bruce.
video ad you produced. I want to go ahead and play that.
You're going to be held in military custody, and you're going to be questioned about what you know. You're not going to be given a lawyer. I don't mind Verizon turning over records to the government. The only way we can get back in good graces with the Hispanic community, in my view, is pass comprehensive immigration reform. Free speech is a great idea, but we're in a war.
Fantastic. That's a video ad made by the Defeat Lindsey Graham grassroots campaign. A few sound bites from Senator Lindsey Graham. So, Bruce, what's your beef with Lindsey Graham?
Well, I think there's a lot of them. First of all, and overriding is he's been there too long. The original election when he went to Congress was 1994. And gas prices were $1.09. O.J. Simpson was being chased up a freeway, and Michael Jackson married Elvis Presley's daughter. So just to give you some historical context, I don't think that any politician should be in office that long without having serious scrutiny about where they're coming from, who they're listening to, who their interests are. And, that is a main reason that our group formed. And even if no one else was running against Lindsey Graham, I think we would be asking the same questions. There are a lot of specific issues that we have with Lindsey Graham, but, I think the overall umbrella is he's just too much DC for SC at this point.
There you go. Well, let me go over just a few of those issues, and I just want to get your response on why is Lindsey Graham wrong. Immigration.
I think everyone probably realizes that we need some type of immigration reform. However, Lindsey Graham has been very adamant on favoring the balance toward amnesty of illegal immigrants versus securing the border and protecting American sovereignty first. And it's not so much how he votes, which is a problem, but the main problem with him on this issue and many others is that he's a leader with the liberal Democrats in the Senate. So that boils down to the frustration that many in our state have with him on that issue.
Okay. How about civil liberties and privacy?
Well, you played the clips from...
I know these are too easy, I know.
Yeah, our opening video, but a lot of us, and the reason that this group formed, I think, was the final straw was Lindsey Graham throwing Rand Paul under the bus after the filibuster on the drone policy of the Obama administration. So Rand Paul is pouring his heart and soul out on the floor of the Senate. Our other senator, Tim Scott, drives all the way up from South Carolina to join him on the Senate floor, and Lindsey Graham is having lobster thermidor dinner with Barack Obama. So that was kind of a final step. But, you played a lot of the sound bites. There's even another one that says, or comments that Graham's made where he says, the First Amendment is nice to have, but we're in a war, which is similar to the other clip you played. And then he's been widely quoted as saying, I have no problem with the mail being censored and people opening the mail, we're in a war. And at some point, I think, the we're in the war is being used as an excuse for bigger government and more intrusive government.
Sure, and that's just amazing words to come out of an attorney's mouth, too, by the way. And I'd like to get your thoughts, since we talked about that, I'd like to get your thoughts on Lindsey Graham's foreign policy.
Well, it's funny. Everybody assumes that Lindsey Graham is strong on foreign policy, and that's kind of his ace in the hole. He's in the reserves. I think he still serves in the reserves, and there's a big military presence in the Charleston area and other parts of South Carolina. My argument is that Lindsey Graham has been very good on trying to hold the administration accountable for the events a year ago in Benghazi. However, what people don't remember, it seems, is that Lindsey Graham and John McCain were virtual lapdogs for Barack Obama in the unconstitutional use of U.S. military force in Libya. So I'd like to challenge the conventional wisdom that says Lindsey Graham is strong on foreign policy by asking, isn't Lindsey Graham to be held for account in the conditions that were created in Benghazi because of his support of Barack Obama? And the scary part is, and I've been a lone wolf in the wilderness on this, we're looking at the same scenario now playing out in Syria. We have a president willing to use U.S. military force without going to Congress, and Lindsey Graham and John McCain are nipping at his heels, barking in support. It's very frustrating.
Yeah, Brandon's got to follow up on that.
First off, you're not a lone wolf, Bruce. Tell him to read the Global Dispatch, and they'll understand. We're right there with you, brother.
Right.
Now, let me tell you.
I feel like I'm a lone wolf.
You are not a lone wolf. Just tell your friends. Tell them this is where you got to go to get the news. Let me tell you what. We're going to have to get my son Jake. We're going to have to put together a clip for you, so you can also use Lindsey Graham's comments when he came back from Egypt and goes, "I didn't know it was so bad." Thank Lindsey Graham, because you've been involved, and obviously you haven't paid attention to any press. And by the way, when you actually landed off the plane in Egypt, did any of you bother to turn on the television and see the thousands of people in the streets to not know it was that bad? So we're going to have to get that sound, and we'll have to put that to like some rap music or something so you can have, I didn't know, Lindsey Graham.
I love it.
Yeah. Let's talk about a few things more on the ground there in South Carolina. The opponents are coming out of the woodwork now. You got Nancy Mace, Richard Cash, and Lee Bright, which, from what I've read so far, I think he's pretty sharp. Give me your take on these three candidates.
Well, my formal response is that we're an independent 527 group, so I just want to be clear that we're not supporting or coordinating with any other candidate. We, our expressed preference is that any other candidate would be better than Lindsey Graham, and I think I even said on a show earlier this week that a dead tree stump would be more conservative than Lindsey Graham. So that being said,
that's the quote of the day.
It might vote no. It might vote no.
Yeah, I know. So that being said, I think the announced candidates are fine in their own ways. I think they all have good strengths, and I think they all have weaknesses. But I think they would represent South Carolina's voters, and specifically South Carolina's conservative voters, much better in the Senate than Lindsey Graham. I also think that there's possibility of one or two more people entering the race, and that is kind of also the purpose of our campaign, is to create a more favorable atmosphere for any challenger to Lindsey Graham than what the conventional wisdom is, which is he's unbeatable.
Yeah. Last week, Bruce, we had a political scientist from one of the universities here in Tampa, and she thinks Lindsey Graham's in he's in dire straits up there in South Carolina. What's the word on the ground up there? What are you seeing and hearing?
Yeah, it's interesting to hear that, because most I think most inside the Beltway people, are kind of scoffing at all of the things going on in South Carolina. What I'm noticing, and I've been around the state a couple times in the past month as we've launched our effort, people are fed up. Especially on the immigration thing, this is now Lindsey Graham's second strike since 2007. And the most interesting thing to me is that Lindsey Graham, despite the fact that he has $6 million in the bank, he hasn't had to run for re-election under the new campaign finance environment post McCain-Feingold and post Citizens United that creates a more even playing field. So that all being said, I've been to many grassroots meetings so far. I'm going to a couple more next week in Charleston, and people are really, really ticked off at him. And I keep hearing every week of more and more grassroots community-based meetings that are being held, with the only reason they're being held is to defeat Lindsey. So I think there's a groundswell, and it's interesting to hear that that political science professor kind of picked up on it, because I tend to agree. I'm sensing that he's in trouble, and the biggest challenge for him is that he has to get over 50% in the June 2014 primary in order to avoid a runoff. And I think, it's my personal opinion, that even if we only had the three candidates we have now, that whoever came in second would rally everybody else, and I think Lindsey would be in trouble in a runoff.
That's great. Earlier this week, you sent me a press release, which I thought was fantastic. You asked Nikki Haley, the governor of South Carolina, to issue a silver alert because you can't find Lindsey Graham. And you even sent me one of the greatest pictures I've ever seen, with a face of Lindsey Graham's face on a milk carton.
Oh yeah, we got to post that. We got to put that on our Facebook.
Yeah,
let me find that real quick.
Yeah,
put that up for our listeners and viewers, because that's fantastic.
Tell us more about that.
Yeah, well, I don't think they use them much more, because I'm not even sure milk cartons exist. But
right.
When I was growing up, when a child would go missing, there was at least a time when the picture on the milk carton was a way to kind of get it out. And now we have things, the technology's advanced. We have Amber Alerts, and for people that may have dementia and are older, we have Silver Alerts. So our idea was, we haven't seen Lindsey Graham in South Carolina in many, many months. He's frequently on the set of Greta Van Susteren's show in Washington, D.C. He has dinner with the president at least a few times a year. And as you mentioned, he was in Egypt with a creepy old man running around. So we're concerned about him. And we thought it was only appropriate that we asked the governor of our state to issue a silver alert and put his face on a milk carton so we can find out where he is. He's not holding any town hall meetings in South Carolina.
Now, that's really strange, isn't it?
Yeah, it is strange.
Yeah.
Tim Scott, who is the appointed senator currently and is also running for re-election next year for the unexpired term of Jim DeMint. Tim Scott is holding a few town halls in August, and that's the whole point of the August recess. You're supposed to go home, get away from the Beltway, listen to your constituents, and put up with the fact that they're going to scream at you. That is part of the job. And some years, you'll have one side screaming at you, and some years you'll have the other.
Sure.
Well, that goes to the territory, but Senator Graham is not meeting with any constituents in South Carolina that anyone knows of.
If you have some T-shirts made that just says, the picture of missing and then his face and silver alert or something like that, may come into T-shirts. But Bruce, just send me one. Just please.
Okay.
That's all I ask. And we'll cut you. I'll get with Jake. I'll cut you a super cheap rate to run some of those ads on our radio show weekly. So let me know when you're ready for that too, because.
Okay.
Wow. So last thing here. Let's finish up here. Just tell me a little bit of how people can get more information about the Carolina Conservatives United Group and the website and all that.
Sure. Sure. We've made it really easy. The website is defeatlindseyggraham.org. We're on Twitter at DefeatGraham. We have a Facebook page as well. And all you have to do is go to the website. We have a lot of the issues that you talked about on why Lindsey should retire. And we have a way to sign up and get more information. We're hoping to activate some grassroots efforts later. And, of course, we accept all donations that are legal to a 527 Super PAC.
Well, fantastic. Thanks, Bruce, again for your time. We may touch base with you again as things move forward. We get down to one candidate or a runoff or something like that. Have you on again?
Yeah, sure.
Absolutely. So appreciate your time. Thank you again for joining us.
Thanks, Bruce.
Thank you.
Awesome, man. I tell you what, listen, folks, again, the sentiment on the ground is anti-incumbent. People are sick and tired of the lip service. They're sick and tired of you being on Fox News talk shows and having dinner with the president and then not coming home, not finding out what your constituents even want you to do, not asking what your constituents want you to vote on. All right, my head will explode. Let me do a quick hometown news.